Good morning, Title I coordinators. I'm Tara Rodriguez, Director of the Division of School and Program Improvement at the Kentucky Department of Education. Thanks for joining the call this morning. It's hard to believe how much has changed since our last call, but I'm glad you're able to join today, and I hope we've got some good information to share with you. You can see that I'm not in our KDE studio. There's been some changes there as well, but you may notice that there's a couple of the KDE media team members on the call. They're just here to make sure everything goes well. So let's begin our agenda for today. I'm going to see, and I also wanted to say, I hope that you and your families are safe and well, and that things are going well in your district. So again, thanks for joining the call. So let me see if I can share my screen with you and get started on some logistics for the call. All right, let's see. I'm not sure if I'm sharing my slides with you. Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah, your slides are up.
Okay, so let's start with the logistics. If you have a question, you please feel free to email it to me there at the email address that's shown on the screen. Since I'm presenting solo today, I doubt that I'll be able to get those questions answered during the call, but we'll be sure to follow up with you afterwards if you have any questions. Also, the webinar will be recorded and posted on the Title I Documents and Resources page. So let's take a look at a recap from our February webinar. In our webinar last month, we talked about the topics you see listed here on the slide, including the timely spending of funds and the important information included on your district's grant award notification. If you recall, I also shared some pie charts that showed some of the main findings we see during monitoring with a closer look at homeless spending. Also, there was information about a federal program's professional development, but that's had to be postponed for now. So for today's agenda, we'll be talking about the survey responses that we've received from some of you about the monthly Title I webinars. Then our Title I topic for the day will be progress monitoring. And last, we'll finish up with some updates and reminders. I'd like to thank those of you who submitted feedback on these webinars. At last count, I think we had 26 responses, which is a great start. We'll continue to make that survey link available, and even if you've already provided feedback, you can still submit. Or if you have any questions that you would like to submit anonymously about anything that you might be having a question about or anything that I talk about on the call, you can do that through the survey as well. So any questions you have related to Title I under the current circumstances or anything in general about Title I, we'll work on responses to those questions and any questions that you submit via email. So going to the survey, I really like some of the ideas that you've presented in your feedback in the survey. I'm going to refer to some of those suggestions throughout the webinar today and in upcoming webinars. We're going to have to think about some of those suggestions and how to best approach them, but please know that we are reviewing those and thinking about all of them. And I appreciate your time in providing the feedback and most especially the encouragement and constructive feedback. I'm excited by some of the suggestions that you've presented and look forward to see how we can implement some of those. I'm going to try to, you may not hear me speak about the suggestions, but I'm going to try to speak slowly. That was one thing that somebody requested, and hopefully you'll notice some of those changes immediately. So the topic that I'm going to start with today is the regular monitoring of the school-wide plan and its implementation. This is a compliance issue we sometimes find during monitoring, but I wanted to talk to you about it because it not only has implications for compliance, but also for effectiveness. It also connects to some other requirements. And since you may be planning for the next school year in your district, this may be a timely topic for you. So here's a little update that I'm going to embed right here when we're talking about planning. You got your hold harmless percentages back in January, so that should be helpful information. And I know some of you may be wondering about the tentative allocations for next year, and so I just got the information that we're expecting that those will be posted on the website towards the end of April, and that towards the beginning of May sometime that you'll find them in GMAP, or that you'll be notified they're in GMAP. That's tentative, but that's the plan for right now. Um, so, back to our topic of monitoring, based on the current situation in your district with COVID-19, you may need to make some adjustments to your normal planning process. But I'm just going to provide this information because it's important to know. And I'm going to show you a slide. You see a slide here about a list of some of the sections in the Every Student Succeeds Act and the Code of Federal Regulations that deal with school and district plans. And I'm going to walk through a few sections specifically. Here you can see on this slide that Section 1114B in the Every Student Succeeds Act has to do with school-wide plans. At the bottom of the slide, it says, the plan and its implementation shall be regularly monitored and revised as necessary based on student needs to ensure that all students are provided opportunities to meet the challenging state academic standards. Notice it doesn't say how this monitoring has to be done, but that would be something that you would make that decision in your district and in your schools. But notice it does mention that student needs have to be considered. This slide shows is from the Code of Federal Regulations, which provides more information about this topic. It again refers to regular monitoring of the implementation, which we just saw in the Every Student Succeeds Act. It also says that the implementation and results achieved by the school-wide program have to be examined. Data from the state's annual assessments and other indicators of academic achievement have to be used during this evaluation. In number 2, the school has to determine the effectiveness of the school-wide program in increasing student achievement in meeting the challenging state academic standards, particularly for those students who have been furthest from achieving the standards. And in number 3, the plan has to be revised as necessary based on the results of the regular monitoring to ensure continuous improvement of students in the school-wide program. There's also mention of this in the schools with targeted assistance programs. So Section 1115 of the Every Student Succeeds Act talks about targeted assistance programs, and it says that there's also a requirement for regular monitoring and evaluation. Schools with targeted assistance programs must provide assurances that they will, quote, on an ongoing basis, review the progress of eligible children and revise the targeted assistance program under this section if necessary to provide additional assistance to enable such children to meet the challenging state academic standards. So, as you're planning your program for next year, you would have the results from these evaluations, and that would help you determine the effectiveness of what was done, and then to make adjustments accordingly to next year's plan if needed. So you might be wondering, how do we conduct such an evaluation? So this slide came from the December webinar, and it shows 6 data questions. Of course, during the December webinar, we were talking about the evaluation of the parent and family engagement policy, but we were talking about it from a process standpoint because there's not a stepwise set of things that you must do. There's different options, but this is, since we were looking at processes, this is the process, a process that you could use. And if you recall, we talked about this is a general process in which you could analyze evidence and data, identify strengths and opportunities for improvement, and make changes to the policy as needed based on results from the evaluation. Of course, we would be talking in this case about the plan based on the results of your ongoing monitoring of the plan and the results achieved by the strategies that you're using. This is another way that you could evaluate the implementation of your plan. So, six data questions that could be used in an evaluation, and it could be used in evaluating the effectiveness of the school-wide program. Note that schools and districts aren't required to use any particular method, and there may be different methods that would work. Whatever process you and your school principals use, just be sure to keep documentation of the process and the results in case your district is monitored. And that leads us to the next slide, which shows how we do monitor schools and districts for this requirement. Here's a screenshot from the district monitoring tool on our Documents and Resources webpage. You can see that in number 2, we're looking for evidence of policies and procedures to monitor that activities and strategies in the approved application, school-wide program, and targeted assistance school are being implemented effectively. As for documentation, at the top of the screen, it lists a documented process or plan, such as a 30, 60, 90-day plan used to monitor and evaluate the implementation of district and school programs to ensure alignment with the approved application and effectiveness. And in the second bullet, required documentation would include the district and school evaluation results used to determine the effectiveness of the Title I program. This slide shows more of the district monitoring checklist. And by the way, this is posted on our Documents and Resources page. Number 3 gets at the collaboration that's required between the district and schools to conduct the regular monitoring that's required. And so I'm going to refer back here back to that survey that I mentioned, the survey feedback that some of you have submitted about the webinars. And one coordinator gave some feedback and said that they would like examples of notes, agendas, and plans that districts implement for talking with their principals. And I would say that what we've been talking about here, the monitoring, would be an important agenda item to talk with principals about, to work with them on the requirement to regularly monitor the effectiveness and results of the implementation of their program and make revisions to their plan as necessary. And you see that would evidence of that kind of collaboration would be great evidence in case you were monitored. School-wide programs and targeted assistance programs, we also monitor those for the requirement to regularly monitor effectiveness and make changes as necessary. Here you see in number 4 that it's looking at the district processes to ensure the activities and school-wide plans are being implemented. And in number 5, we're looking for evidence that the school reviews the implementation of and the results achieved by the school-wide program, and then uses the findings to revise the school-wide plan. And here is a place that I would pause to ask for questions. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me or to submit a question anonymously through the survey link. So let me just kind of recap right here. Again, I know things have changed a lot. I just wanted you to present you with the information because we are getting into that time when we start planning for and making plans for next year. So hopefully this is some good, timely information for you. And that'll be useful to you during this time. All right, so let's proceed on, and I have a few updates and reminders for you. This update is one that was shared in last month's webinar and in the newsletter from last month, some reporting reminders. And then in the newsletter, there was some contact information in case you have any questions about these reporting requirements. Also, I wanted to let you know that the Federal Department of Education has released a draft guidance document. This is a live link, so you should be able to click that and get to the guidance document. And this public comment period is open for 30 days. This document combines existing information on within district Title I Part A allocations that the information currently exists in multiple places, but it combines that information and compiles it to make it easier for states, LEAs, and other stakeholders to access and use. It also updates the information to be consistent with the requirements in the ESEA as amended by the Every Student Succeeds Act, identifying the requirements and flexibilities that the ESEA provides. This document is posted for stakeholder review and comment through April the 10th, 2020. And you see there an email address that you can submit any comments to. They're looking for comments, substantive comments about the content, um, uh, and including any additional comments. Topics that you would like to see included in that document. And here's just for FYI, here's a screenshot of the table of contents so you can kind of see the topics that they have included in that draft guidance document. So again, if you'd like to provide a comment on the document, it's available at the link provided on the previous slide. So let's move on to a few more updates and reminders. Tomorrow, April the 1st, is Census Day. The 2020 census count impacts the federal funds that communities receive each year for programs and services that are critical for schools, students, and younger children, such as special education, Head Start, after school programs, and classroom technology, food assistance, including free and reduced price school lunches, and maternal and child health programs. And there are resources available at the links, some of the links that I provided for you in this presentation. Another update is we have a new Title I branch manager who's starting tomorrow. Her name is Brenda Considine. She's coming to us from a district. She has experience as both a school principal and a district administrator. We're very excited to have her join the team. She'll be sending you an email to introduce herself, and so be on the lookout for that. And last, for consolidated monitoring, we're writing reports for the districts we were able to monitor, and we'll work on rescheduling the visits that we were not able to complete due to the coronavirus circumstances. Here are the next two webinar dates so that you can get those on your calendars. We've had a couple of people ask on the survey if these dates could be on the same day each month, and we do try to do that, but when we're doing the consolidated monitoring season based on people's schedules, if they're going to be out of the office, we've had to change that around a little bit, and it also depends on our studio availability at KDE. But as much as possible, we will try to get back to having the webinars on a certain day each month. Thank you for joining the call today. Let me share with you some resources here that you might find helpful. There are some links to some different regulations that I referred to. The Census Bureau Statistics in School, there's a link there for you for that. The timeline, again, is available at the link there. And also, you may have seen our KDE COVID-19 webpage, but there are FAQs and information that's being posted there regularly. So that might be something you'd like to check out as well. Again, I hope you all stay well. I hope things are going great for you. And we're here. If you have any questions or need anything, Title I consultants are available. I am as well. So let us know if you have anything you need that we can help with. Thank you so much. I hope to see you on next month's call.